My name is Emma. The loud knock on my apartment door came at exactly 6:12 a.m. I ignored it. Whoever it was could wait. A second knock followed, louder this time, followed by complete silence. Something about that silence bothered me more than the knocking itself. Still half asleep, I walked toward the door of my small Seattle apartment and looked through the peephole. No one. The hallway was completely empty. Just as I was about to walk away, my eyes caught something sitting on the welcome mat. A medium-sized gift box wrapped in dark blue paper with a silver ribbon. No delivery label, no return address, only a single white envelope taped neatly on top. My heart skipped a beat. I unlocked the door carefully and picked up the envelope first. On the front, written in handwriting I recognized immediately, were two words: for Emma. My hands began to shake. I hadn't seen that handwriting in over 12 years. It belonged to my parents, the same parents who had abandoned me when I was 15, the same parents who disappeared after taking every dollar from my college fund, selling our family home, and leaving me to survive alone with relatives who barely wanted me. For 12 years, there hadn't been a single birthday card, not one phone call, not one apology. They simply vanished. And now, a gift? I slowly opened the envelope. Inside was one folded piece of paper. It contained only one sentence. Whatever you do, don't open the box alone. No signature, no explanation, nothing else. I stared at the message for nearly a minute. It had to be a joke, some sick prank. I looked around the hallway again, still empty. I carried the package inside and locked the door behind me. Every instinct told me to throw it away. Instead, curiosity won. I placed the box on my kitchen table. It wasn't very heavy. When I gently shook it, something inside slid from one side to the other with a dull metallic sound. Not like jewelry, not like glass, metal, cold metal. I grabbed a pair of scissors. The ribbon came off easily. The wrapping paper peeled away, revealing a plain brown cardboard box. No markings, no company logo, just tape. As I cut through the tape, my phone suddenly buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. Silence. Then a whisper. Emma? The voice sounded weak, old, almost familiar. Before I could respond, the call disconnected. My pulse raced. I looked back at the box. Every warning in my mind screamed to stop. Instead, I lifted the lid. The smell hit me first. Old paper, dust, and something metallic. Inside the box were dozens of old photographs, a small locked metal tin, a cheap prepaid cell phone, and beneath everything else, a revolver, loaded. My entire body froze. Someone had intentionally mailed me a loaded gun. That's when I noticed another folded note taped beneath the weapon. It read, "If you're seeing this, they're already watching you." I didn't think. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. "My name is Emma Carter," I said, struggling to breathe. "Someone left a package outside my apartment containing a loaded gun." The dispatcher immediately told me not to touch anything and said officers were already on the way. As I waited, I couldn't stop staring at the photographs scattered across my table. Most were family pictures from my childhood. Birthdays, Christmas mornings, school plays, memories I thought had disappeared forever. Then I found one photograph that didn't belong. It had been taken recently, very recently. It showed me leaving work 3 days ago. I was carrying coffee, looking over my shoulder, completely unaware someone had been watching. My blood ran cold. Someone had been following me. For how long? Why? The police arrived within minutes. 2 officers searched my apartment while a detective carefully examined the contents of the box. His expression changed the moment he opened the locked metal tin. He looked directly at me. "Miss Carter, what is it?" He hesitated. "Where are your parents now?" "I have no idea," I answered honestly. "I haven't seen them in 12 years. The detective exchanged nervous glances with another officer. Then he quietly closed the tin. "I think you'd better come with us." "Why?" He took a deep breath. "Because this isn't just a family matter anymore." He paused before saying the words that changed my life forever. "Your parents didn't leave you a gift. They left you evidence." Emma sat silently in the back of the police cruiser, her mind racing. The detective's final words echoed over and over in her head. "Your parents didn't leave you a gift. They left you evidence." The drive to the police station felt endless. Rain streaked across the windows as Seattle's morning traffic crawled forward. But Emma barely noticed. All she could think about was one question. What had her parents gotten themselves into? Inside the station, Detective Michael Reeves led her into a small interview room. The locked metal tin from the package sat on the table between them. "I need you to tell me everything you remember about your parents," he said. Emma laughed bitterly. "There isn't much to tell. They disappeared 12 years ago. They emptied my college savings, sold our house, and abandoned me without even saying goodbye." Reeves studied her face carefully. "I don't think that's the whole story." He unlocked the tin. Inside were several USB drives, a thick stack of documents, and an old notebook covered in faded leather. Emma frowned. "That's it?" The detective slid one document across the table. Her hands began shaking before she even finished reading the first page. It was a bank statement. Her father's name appeared at the top. The balance? $18.4 million. Emma stared at the number. "My parents were broke." "That's what everyone believed," Reeves replied. "They weren't." More documents followed. Offshore bank accounts, property deeds, wire transfers, fake identities. Every page revealed another secret life her parents had hidden. Then came the notebook. Inside were handwritten entries dating back almost 20 years. At first, they looked like ordinary journal entries. But after a few pages, Emma realized they were keeping records. Names, dates, amounts of money, and beside many of the names, one chilling word: eliminated. Emma looked up. "What is this?" Reeves remained silent for several seconds. "We believe your parents spent years collecting evidence against a criminal organization that infiltrated banks, politicians, and law enforcement." Emma's stomach tightened. "So, they were criminals?" "Not exactly." He leaned forward. "We think they were undercover financial investigators." Emma blinked. "What?" "They disappeared because someone inside their own agency betrayed them." Everything Emma believed about her parents suddenly collapsed. Had they abandoned her? Or had they been forced to disappear? Before she could ask another question, the interview room door burst open. A younger officer hurried inside. "Detective!" Reeves stood immediately. "What happened?" "The apartment." Emma's heart stopped. "What about it?" The officer swallowed hard. "It exploded." Silence filled the room. "What?" "About 30 minutes after we left, someone triggered an explosion. The entire floor was destroyed." Emma's face turned pale. "If I hadn't come with you, you'd be dead," Reeves finished. The realization hit like a truck. Someone had expected her to stay home. Someone wanted every piece of evidence destroyed, including her. Hours later, the forensic team finished examining the prepaid phone found inside the package. It had only one saved contact. No name, just a number. Reeves placed it on speaker and dialed. The line rang once, twice, 3 times. Finally, a woman's voice answered. "I was beginning to think you'd never call." Emma froze. She knew that voice. It couldn't be. "Mom?" A long silence followed. Then the woman spoke softly. "Emma, if you're hearing my voice, it means we're out of time." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Where are you?" "I can't tell you." "Why did you leave me?" Another painful silence. "Because keeping you with us would have gotten you killed." Emma felt 12 years of anger explode inside her. "You abandoned me." "No," her mother whispered. "We sacrificed everything to keep you alive." Before Emma could respond, another voice interrupted on the phone. A man's voice. Cold, threatening. "You shouldn't have contacted her." A loud crash echoed. Someone screamed. Then the call ended. Emma stared at the silent phone, unable to breathe. Detective Reeves immediately ordered a trace, but after several minutes, the technician shook his head. "They're gone." Reeves looked directly at Emma. "They know we have the evidence. What happens now?" His expression turned grim. "Now, they'll come for you next." Emma looked down at the notebook again. Hidden inside the final page was a handwritten message she hadn't noticed before. It was addressed directly to her. "If you're reading this, trust no one, especially the people wearing badges." Emma slowly raised her eyes to Detective Reeves. For the first time since this nightmare began, she wasn't sure if the man sitting across from her was trying to protect her or lead her straight into a trap. Emma couldn't take her eyes off the final sentence in her father's notebook. "Trust no one, especially the people wearing badges." Her pulse quickened. She slowly closed the notebook before Detective Reeves could notice the message. If her father had risked everything to warn her, she couldn't afford to ignore it. Reeves looked at her. We're moving you into protective custody. Until we know who's behind this, you'll be safer under police protection. Emma forced a weak smile. Okay. But inside, she had already made her decision. She wasn't going. That night, the police placed Emma in a secure hotel under an assumed name. 2 officers guarded the hallway outside her room. Around midnight, she quietly opened the bathroom window, climbed onto the fire escape, and disappeared into the rainy Seattle streets. If someone inside law enforcement had betrayed her parents, staying under police protection could be the biggest mistake of her life. The only clue she had left was the prepaid phone. She turned it on again. This time, instead of the home screen, a notification appeared. One unheard voicemail. Emma frowned. She pressed play. Her father's voice filled the room. It was older, tired, but unmistakably his. Emma, if you're hearing this, it means we failed to come back for you. I'm sorry. Every day we stayed away broke our hearts, but we had no choice. We uncovered an organization called The Circle. They control people with money, fear, and murder. Judges, police officers, politicians, even federal agents. We gathered enough evidence to destroy them, but someone betrayed us before we could expose them. Emma felt tears roll down her face. There's only one person you can trust. Find Daniel Mercer. He owes us his life. He'll know what to do. The recording ended. A single address appeared on the phone's screen. By sunrise, Emma stood outside an old auto repair garage on the edge of the city. The building looked abandoned. Rust covered the metal doors. Broken windows were boarded shut. She almost turned around. Then the garage door slowly rolled open. A gray-haired man in his 60s stepped out. His eyes widened the moment he saw her. "You have your mother's eyes," he whispered. "Are you Daniel Mercer?" He nodded slowly. I was wondering how long it would take. Inside the garage was something Emma never expected. The walls were covered with maps, surveillance photos, newspaper clippings, and computer monitors displaying security camera feeds from around the city. Daniel wasn't a mechanic. He'd been watching, waiting. He handed Emma a faded photograph. It showed Daniel standing beside her parents nearly 15 years earlier. "We worked together," he said quietly. "Your parents saved my life during an undercover operation." Emma stared at the picture. "So everything they told me, it was true?" Daniel sighed. "Not everything." He walked to a locked cabinet and removed another file. "This is what they never wanted you to know." Inside were dozens of classified reports. Emma flipped through them until one page stopped her cold. It listed every member of the Circle. One name was highlighted in red: Detective Michael Reeves. Emma's heart pounded. "No." Daniel nodded. "He wasn't investigating your parents. He was hunting them." Everything suddenly made sense. The questions, the police escort, the explosion at her apartment. He hadn't been protecting her. He'd been trying to recover the evidence before she discovered the truth. Daniel looked at her with deep concern. "The moment Reeves realizes you've disappeared, he'll come looking." Almost on cue, every monitor in the garage flickered. One by one, they went black. Then the power failed. The building fell into darkness. Outside, car doors slammed shut. Voices echoed through the night. Flashlights swept across the garage windows. Daniel quietly reached beneath his desk and pulled out a locked case. Inside were passports, cash, and a small encrypted hard drive. "This drive contains every file your parents spent 20 years collecting," he said. "If the Circle gets it, everything they sacrificed will have been for nothing." Emma took the drive with trembling hands. A loud voice echoed from outside. "Federal agents! Open the door!" Daniel gave a grim smile. "They're not federal agents." The garage door shook violently as someone tried to force it open. Metal groaned. Glass shattered. Emma looked toward the back exit. Daniel handed her a set of keys. "There's an old tunnel beneath the garage. It leads to the river. What about you?" He smiled sadly. "They're expecting one survivor." He paused before adding, "Make sure it's you." The first gunshot shattered the front window. Emma hesitated for only a second before running toward the hidden tunnel. As she disappeared into the darkness, the sounds of gunfire erupted behind her. She didn't look back, but she knew one thing with absolute certainty. She was no longer running to survive. She was running to expose the Circle and make every person responsible for destroying her family pay for what they had done. Emma ran through the narrow underground tunnel. Daniel's final words echoing in her mind, "Make sure it's you." Tears blurred her vision as the sound of gunfire faded behind her. She didn't know whether Daniel had survived, but deep down, she already knew the answer. He had sacrificed himself so she could finish what her parents had started 20 years earlier. When she finally emerged near the Seattle waterfront, dawn was breaking. Exhausted, soaked, and alone, Emma clutched the encrypted hard drive beneath her jacket. It wasn't just a collection of files. It was the truth. And for the first time in her life, she understood why her parents had disappeared. They hadn't abandoned her. They had been protecting her. That realization erased years of hatred and replaced it with something far more powerful: purpose. Using one of the passports Daniel had given her, Emma disappeared for nearly 3 weeks. She stayed in cheap motels, changed cities every few days, and learned everything she could from the files on the hard drive. What she discovered was horrifying. The Circle wasn't just a criminal organization. It controlled judges, business executives, police commanders, politicians, and wealthy investors across the country. Anyone who threatened them either disappeared, went to prison on false charges, or died in carefully staged accidents. Emma also found thousands of recordings, financial records, surveillance videos, and signed confessions. Her parents had spent 2 decades building an impossible case. One video changed everything. It showed Detective Michael Reeves meeting privately with the leader of the Circle. Reeves accepted a briefcase filled with cash before handing over the names of undercover investigators. Among those names, Emma's parents. The betrayal had been recorded. The evidence was undeniable. Emma smiled for the first time in weeks. Reeves had unknowingly signed his own downfall. Instead of giving the evidence directly to the police, Emma chose another path. She anonymously sent copies of the files to national news organizations, federal inspectors, independent prosecutors, and investigative journalists across the country. She scheduled every file to be released at exactly the same time. If one person tried to bury the story, hundreds of others would already have it. Then she waited. At exactly 9 a.m. on Monday morning, every major news network interrupted its programming. Breaking news: massive corruption scandal. Secret criminal network exposed. Federal investigations launched. Search warrants executed across multiple states. Within hours, judges signed emergency arrest warrants. Police departments were raided. Government offices were searched. Bank accounts were frozen. The Circle was collapsing faster than anyone imagined. People who had spent decades believing they were untouchable suddenly found themselves surrounded by federal agents. Detective Reeves didn't run. He came looking for Emma. Late that evening, she returned to her abandoned apartment building for the first time since the explosion. She knew he'd expect her to visit eventually. She wanted him to. As she stepped into the ruined hallway, a slow clap echoed behind her. "I underestimated you," Reeves said, emerging from the shadows with a pistol in his hand. Emma remained calm. "You murdered my parents." He laughed. "No, I simply told the right people where to find them. They begged for their daughter's life." His smile widened. It didn't help. Emma's fists tightened, but her voice stayed steady. "You destroyed my family." Reeves pointed the gun at her. "And now I'll finish the job." Emma looked directly into his eyes. "You already have." Confused, Reeves hesitated. Emma slowly raised her phone. A red light blinked on the screen. "Smile," she said quietly. "We've been live for the last 5 minutes." Reeves' face turned white. Everything. His confession, his threats, his admission that he betrayed Emma's parents. It had all been streamed live to millions of viewers. At that exact moment, flashing blue and red lights illuminated the broken windows. This time, they weren't corrupt officers. They were members of a federal task force that had been tracking Reeves since the evidence was released. "Drop your weapon." Reeves turned toward the stairwell, desperate to escape. He never made it. Within seconds, officers tackled him to the ground and placed him in handcuffs. As they led him away, Reeves looked back at Emma with pure hatred. "You think you've won?" Emma took one slow step forward. "No, my parents did." 6 months later, the trials became the largest corruption prosecutions in American history. Hundreds of officials were convicted. Billions of dollars in stolen assets were recovered. Families who had spent years searching for answers finally learned the truth about their missing loved ones. Emma testified in court only once. She didn't speak about revenge. She spoke about courage, about two parents who had sacrificed everything to expose evil, even knowing they might never see their daughter again. After the trial, investigators returned one final item to her: the faded leather notebook. Inside the back cover, hidden beneath a loose page, was one last handwritten message from her mother. "Emma, if you're reading this, then you survived. We always believed you would. Don't let revenge define your life. Let the truth be our legacy. We have always loved you." Emma closed the notebook, tears filling her eyes. For 12 years, she believed she had been abandoned. Now she finally understood. She had been loved every single day. She walked out of the courthouse into the sunlight, carrying no anger, no fear, and no regrets. The people who stole her childhood had lost everything. The truth had won. And for the first time in her life, Emma Carter was finally free.